Hello and welcome to the Casual Metal Podcast. I'm Brian.
And I am Dan.
Dan, after a couple weeks off, we are back. I know it's been a little traumatic the last 2 weeks. How are you doing today?
Well, I'm getting through it. I don't know if I told this or not, but yeah, I had to have a tooth emergency
Oof.
extracted last week, which is why we didn't do a podcast. Obviously, I was like, this is it hit me right in the middle of the week, and you know how it is. Like a toothache is one of those things where like you start getting a toothache, and you're like, all right, I guess I should go to the dentist, and so you call the dentist, you make an appointment. This was not like that. This was like I woke up, I had a totally normal morning, and then by like midday, I was like, "Oh my god, I have to leave work and have something done." And so I go to the dentist, and the dude's like, "How's this tooth not been bothering you for years?" And I'm like, I don't know.
I
And
don't
he's
know.
like, "Well," he's like, "It's got to go." And I was like, "Can't we do like a root canal to save it?" He's like, "There's no saving it." So yeah, he pulled the tooth and then installed like a membrane over the tooth hole, I guess is what we're calling it. I'll just call it the hole in my gums or whatever. Yeah, so he put like a membrane on it, and I think it's the foreign material that's still in the wound that's making it hurt so much. I managed to get a DFT video out like recorded before it was really bad.
Yeah.
I kept hitting up poor Brian here and being like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't do it this week, or I can't do it today, or I can't this or that." So, but we're back,
We're
and
back.
we're
Okay.
here to talk about some gruesome. But before that, Brian, how was your week? Hopefully better.
Doing good. Just tired. A lot of late nights, early mornings. This yesterday. Yeah, it must have been yesterday. I like dropped the kids off at school. I got home. I laid on the couch and I was like, if I did not have an interview in half an hour for As the Story Grows, I would take a nap right now. I was
Right.
that tired, felt like garbage, but we're
Yeah.
here. We're here. And like you said, we are going to talk about gruesome silent echoes. Look, we got called out a few weeks ago for only talking about big bands and their banger albums.
That's right.
And I thought about it because my initial gut was the next album we talk about after Mastodon should be Human by Death. That just made sense in my brain. But after that, I
Totally.
was like, I don't know, maybe we should talk about something else. But I don't want to talk about I don't want to talk about Suicide Silence new metal record, right? Like, why do I want to put myself through that? That's no fun. So your suggestion off Death by Human was the latest record from Gruesome Silent Echoes, which is a great idea because it's a great record. But Dan, how did you hear about Gruesome and what was your introduction to the band and this record?
So I'm a little bit of a poser, which I think anybody that watches my stuff knows that already. But I got into Gruesome really with Silent Echoes. I saw the video. I think Brian, you posted it on the
Mhm.
in the DFT's Dungeon Discord server, and I didn't really have a reference for it. So I knew about Gruesome. Like I knew that
Mhm.
they had put a record out called Savage Land a few years ago, and that seemed to get pretty good reviews. I never listened to it. People were like, "Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think whenever that came out, I was still like prime time discography discussion, and
Yeah.
during that period of my life, I could only listen to what was on the show. It's the only thing I had time to listen to, and so Gruesome just didn't ever make the cut. It never made its way in. But I knew that they were a band that was like reminiscent of Death, and that their whole sort of thing was to be a Death like tribute band. But I saw that that was a record that came out, and I just promptly forgot all about it. I forgot about the band, and that was the end of it. But yeah, as far as this goes, yeah, I heard A Darkened Window, and I was like, "Oh my god, this sounds like Death, but like the good Death, the Death that I like." Not that the previous Death albums were, not that Scream Bloody Gore and Leprosy and all that were bad records. I love Leprosy especially.
Mhm.
But what got me hooked on Death was like their more progressive like, technical
Yeah.
death metal stuff, and so to hear a Darkened Window, it absolutely blew my mind because this was my first time actually hearing the band. So like I couldn't believe how much, dude sounded like Chuck,
Yeah.
and just how the playing was so, again, just, it's, if you didn't know better,
Yeah.
and you just heard this, you would think that it was like some death song that you had not ever heard before, that had been unreleased or something like that. Like if
Yeah.
they had presented the album as like unreleased death material, I'd be like, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Just like you, A Darkened Window was my introduction to Gruesome. This the I don't remember if I saw the video on YouTube first or if I got the press release that led me to the video. It doesn't really matter. Getting the press release via As the Story Grows is what got me to Gruesome. And I heard it and I loved it. And I was immediately like, I want this band on the podcast.
Yeah,
And so that's what once I started doing the research, I'm like, oh, Matt is from Exhumed. I love Exhumed.
yeah,
So that
same.
was exciting. It was in listening to Gruesome that I really went back to listen to Death. So that I'm a superposer when it comes to this because even though I was aware of Death and I own those records digitally, I never gave them much of the time of day until
Really?
Gruesome. Yeah. It was just I think I might have listened to them once and it did not vibe with me at the time.
Right.
Probably because, you know, metal hits at different times and certain genres or bands strike you when they strike you. And so I was just not feeling I probably heard Spiritual Healing first and I was like, it's fine. It's not my
Yeah,
bag go. Um, but this record got me to Death, and obviously it got me into Gruesome, and I downloaded their whole discography.
sure.
And yeah, it's a phenomenal record. It was interesting because when I thought we were doing this podcast last weekend, I had put Human on my phone to re-listen to Human and then put Silent Echoes on. And it's amazing to listen one record going into the next because you're just like, they totally capture the vibe and the feel of Human on this record.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
and when you like talking to Matt, I got the sense like he just loved Chuck and Death and like wants to honor that legacy with each record. And I
yeah.
appreciate that. But it was really watching, I don't know if you watched the making of Silent Echoes that Gruesome had posted on YouTube, where you really see like the attention and care that each member put into this album.
Yeah, I mean, and you realize that they're dorks about it. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not like it's weird too because the spirit and vibe that they put off is like so different than like the vibe that like Chuck, probably put off whenever he was
Oh
making
yeah.
Human. Chuck had a tendency to take himself very seriously, and could back it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like 100% back it up. It wasn't traditional pretension, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, these guys are just absolute dorks about death, and I love that. I did like the interview that you did, and it kind of gave me a little bit of insight too as to like how this record came about. So like if you
Yeah.
haven't if nobody's heard Gruesome before, they are a death worship band
Yeah.
basically, if Death did it, and like it was funny, he was joking in the interview too about like he was like, yeah, I mean sometimes it's as simple as like if Chuck wrote a song about losing an arm, then we write a song about losing a leg or whatever,
Yeah.
like capturing the same sort of thing. But yeah, I did actually go back and collect the older Gruesome albums. So I have it all now. I have
Yeah.
I have the whole collection, and
Yeah.
so like if you go back to Savage Land, which was their first release, that sounds like we're like basically Leprosy,
Yeah.
straight up. And then you've got Twisted Prayers, which is like your spiritual healing,
Yeah.
sort of era. And then we come to Silent Echoes, and you wonder like a lot of bands can pull off the old Death sound, right? I
Yeah.
mean, the pretty much the whole genre was was based
It,
around
it's
that
not that
sound.
hard.
Yeah, and so but this is hard. That I mean, to be able to capture the spirit of Human the way that Gruesome did, just right out of the gate. I mean, it like the album starts with the song "Condemned Identity,"
Hmm.
and you've immediately got lack of comprehension vibes. Like it starts, which I think is interesting, right? Because like when you listen to this record, it's not like if you listen to Human, because Human starts with flattening of emotions,
Yeah.
which is a little bit more like something that you would have heard off of Spiritual Healing, right? Chuck
Hmm.
kind of did that in that era of like sort of transitioning from one record to the next in a more smooth, whereas Gruesome knows that they are going for a very specific vibe,
Yeah.
and a very specific sound. So it's like we need to get to the lack of comprehension right away,
Yeah.
you know? And they capture it amazingly. One of the things that I really liked about that first song, specifically Condemned Identity, was that, lyrically capturing the Chuck Schuldiner, like, more philosophical, I used to call Chuck Schuldiner, like, death metal Seinfeld, in the sense that, like, he always had a very unique perspective on, like, current issues, you
Yeah.
know? And I feel like they really carried, like, because, like, a song like Condemned Identity was, like, it's a very sort of modern,
Mhm.
type of lyric, like, and I thought it was interesting that they were able to, like, if Chuck was writing a new song today, yeah, like, with the same
Yeah.
mindset that he'd
Mhm.
had back then, a song like Condemned Identity, like, makes total sense.
Yeah.
And even on the first single, A Darkened Window, I felt like it was, like, the same thing. It's just stuff that, like, yeah, you gotta remember, like, just a couple of records ago, this band was, like, singing about, like, Neanderthals killing you in a savage land, and, like, ripping the flesh off your bones and
Yeah.
stuff, right? And now it's like you've got a darkened window, and it's all like, when you put up a front, and you become somebody else, and you wear a mask every day, then
Mhm.
that person ends up killing the person that you were trying to protect in your mind. And you're just like, whoa, dude, like, we've really gone off the edge here.
Yeah.
And I love that. It's one of the, most of the time we don't listen to death metal for the lyrics, right? Because
Right,
most of
right,
the time most of the time they're garbage, or they're fun. They're just fun, stupid, right?
right.
But on this record, like, I did not think that I was gonna be like, well, it's really interesting. I never really thought about it like that before. It's been such a long time since, like, a death metal record made me feel that way. Not since probably, like, Sound of Perseverance by Death.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
about you, Brian? Sorry, I just sort of took over that segment. I
Y
love this record, if you can't tell.
Yeah, I mean, no, I agree. Like the beauty of death metal that I don't think a lot of people realize is like, yes, you have Cannibal Corpse and Sanguishigabog and like just like gory, ridiculous nonsense all the time, right? It's just chopping people up. It's horror films in a metal package. And I love that. I also love Silent Echoes or Human or these death metal records that are more poetic or are exploring the inner, I mean, human for no pun intended, but I mean, Condemned Identity is a great song where it's like, I think no matter who you are, what your political affiliations, spiritual affiliations, you could read the lyrics to Condemned Identity and be like, I resonate with that song. There's
Yeah,
something instinctive about that song where you're like, that could be me, right? Like condemned for who you are, don't say what you truly believe,
right,
don't even think it because they'll come and get you. It's
right.
like you're how many people feel like that right now? Like
I
that is
know.
that is a totally great song for this moment. I mean, every song, I mean, it is silly to be like this song honoring human is all about the human experience, but it really is like, and
Yeah,
they capture that so well. It's great to listen to a death metal record that makes you think that you're going to the lyrics because you're interested in what they're saying and not just like, did they really say they're chopping X off with X? Like what the
yeah. Come on. Yeah.
something ridiculous. But I also appreciate, Gus in that making of the record talked about how much he wanted to honor Sean on this record and,
Yes.
going and talking to the engineers who worked with Sean and bringing in, can't remember if it was Sean's sister or his wife to be like, am I getting this right? Am I honoring
Yeah,
his
yeah,
legacy in this? Like, it was so great to see the care. And I mean, even with Daniel on guitar was talking about like knowing that Human was like the next step up, and it was like that challenge to do something interesting, but like also like, okay, I finally get to flex a little muscle because you're not just like, ooh,
right.
like,
It's not just chunk, chunk, chunk speed
yeah, yeah,
solo. Yeah, like,
right, right.
it's yeah. You've got to actually.
That technical aspect has been broadened, and yeah, I think it's super cool. The my possibly my least favorite thing about this record, and it's not that it's bad at all, is like, I don't know, the artwork trying to, because everything else seems so like in line with human, that the artwork, I'm like, I don't know if that captures quite the same vibe. Not that Savage Land captures it all.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. I would have been afraid to release Savage Land with that cover, but anyway,
It's pretty bad.
I mean, yeah, it's yeah. So yeah, this record is interesting. Like the cover artwork for this record is interesting because like you can obviously see the human vibe, right, with
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
I like the artwork to human more,
yeah, of
obviously.
course.
But I think that this artwork actually captures I do think that the Gruesome logo looks kind of dumb with it, to be honest with you,
Yeah,
as I'm wearing a t-shirt of the artwork and all that. But like I think the Gruesome logo, it still looks like the old Death logo, and like even Death had sort of changed up their logo a little bit
by this
for
point, yeah,
human.
yeah,
Yeah. But like it's fine. But like with this artwork, I also noticed that it sort of reminds me of like it's like they took the artwork from individual thought patterns and human and mixed them together. And really that's what this record is. As much as we're like, oh yeah, this is a tribute to human. There's so much like musically, there's so much like melodic riffing
yeah,
going on and melodic solos and that sort of techno that sort of tech death. I like to call it just like the hypnotic vortex
yeah,
type of playing. I'm
yeah,
sure that's the technical term for it, but there's more of that on this record than there is on all of individual thought patterns and all of human, right?
yeah,
And that's honestly like I love that. I feel very catered to when I'm listening to it. And so the only criticism that I'm going to give Silent Echoes is that like if you listen to this record on its own, it's like the greatest thing in the world. And then if you listen to it alongside of human or alongside of individual thought patterns, unfortunately, it does like the illusion starts to sort of fall apart a little bit, you know,
yeah,
and that's okay. Like it's not like it's a very mild criticism that like you compare the facsimile to the original. Like, yes, of course, the original is going to look better. But I
yeah,
do appreciate that it's not an exact facsimile, you
yeah,
know, it's just meant to evoke the same feeling,
yeah,
which I think is really the hardest thing to evoke when you're doing this sort of
mm,
thing, right? Because like let's say Chuck was still alive and Death was still around, right? And
yeah,
they wanted to make an album like Human again that would evoke the same feeling as Human. They couldn't do it.
yeah,
Maybe Chuck and Death could do it, but like we've seen other bands not be able to do it, not be able to capture, you know, we talked about
mm,
Metallica as our
yeah,
first episode, right? It's a perfect example. They're like, we're gonna get that Kill 'Em All spirit on Saint Anger, and it's like Saint Anger, regardless of how people feel about it, doesn't sound anything like Kill 'Em All, right? It doesn't feel like Kill 'Em All. So I found it interesting that a whole bunch of people that were not actually involved with the recording of Human
yeah,
were able to they were able to capture it somehow, you
yeah,
know. I think that is super unique to this record, and I think they actually do it better because, like I said, I've listened to the other Gruesome albums. I feel like they do it better here than they did on the previous
yeah.
releases.
I agree, and it's nice kind of to get that like classic tech death sound, because technical death metal has become so much weird time signatures and guitar wanking and like crazy riffs, and it's
Yeah,
nice to like a stripped down, like this is what technical death metal started as, like it is, one step removed as opposed to this whole other umbrella, like, and I appreciate that.
I feel largely the same. Like I like the more stripped down because there's not a lot of technical death metal anymore that sounds like this. The only way
Yeah,
you get this is, unfortunately, when a band is trying to recapture, what an older band accomplished in the
yeah,
90s, right?
um,
And so like I simultaneously I love that this exists, but like yeah, it's hard for me sometimes to listen to modern technical death metal. Like I like it, but like those are records that you have to listen to like 8 or 9 times
yeah,
sometimes, and then you're like, "Oh, okay, now I get it," right? Or whereas this is digestible enough. And
yeah,
I just honestly I like it. I like the more melodic elements.
yeah.
You know, because like I love obviously like wankier, heavier stuff, but like, and this sort of music was like the foundation for that. But I appreciate hearing the melody. I appreciate how memorable the songs actually are.
Yeah.
You know, because like there's an argument that like at some point when you get so technical, the songs kind of stop being songs
Yeah.
and they just become a collection of riffs and solos and weird stuff. And like I said, I'm not knocking it. I like that
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, it's captured really well here. Some of my I really liked Fragments of Psyche. I thought that
Yeah.
was really well done. And yeah, I mean the whole thing is great. Silent
Mm.
Echoes is good, Shards is good. It's a really quick record. I mean like
Yeah.
8 tracks in and out, perfect length for a
Yeah.
record like this, you know. But I mean I would have been okay if they had thrown a 10-minute song on here. I wouldn't have even batted an eye, right? But I appreciate Gruesome's restraint.
Yeah,
Um,
and they're trying to stick to what Human was, which was again, yeah, quick, short record in and out. Like,
well, why is there not a Kiss cover song at the end of it?
well,
Should have recorded God of Thunder, you know, and actually I think maybe they did. I'm trying to think. I'll have to look at my CDs. They definitely I think they did a Possessed cover
yeah,
on one of their previous records as
yeah,
well. So
they did.
anyway, any final thought that you have
Yeah,
on
yeah.
Gruesome? Or do you want to talk about more? Sorry,
No, no, yeah, no.
I'm like
Final,
falling asleep over here. So, not because
fi-
I'm bored, but just because like I'm old and tired. And
yeah, no. Final thought. Like, it's a great record. If you like Human, you'll like this record, and hopefully, this is obscure enough to get people off our fucking back.
there you go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Dan,
not that many people. There's like 4 people, right?
yeah,
But it's okay though. I like that.
yeah,
Actually, I'm gonna announce. I'll tell you this and the 4 listeners here. I will be announcing that this podcast exists on my next DFT video.
hell yeah,
So hopefully that video does well, right? That'd be embarrassing. Like only 50 people watch it, and it's like, but hey, that's a lot more people than watch this, right? So it's
currently,
something.
yeah,
It's something.
it is
But
something.
yeah, my final thought on this record is yeah, just go out and buy it. You're not gonna get like it's there's not really if you're into death metal, you like cool melodic solos and stuff. Even if you don't know or care about the technical aspect of it,
Yeah, it's
this
just a
is still
good
a really
record.
enjoyable listen. I feel like you could take an average Metallica fan and show them Silent Echoes and they'd be like, this is really cool.
Yeah,
Right.
I think so.
Because I think that the death metal vocals they might be kind of off-putting, but like probably not in the way that like more modern death metal vocals are off-putting, right?
Yeah,
That's actually something else I liked about this era was that like the vocals were just sort of a step up in aggression from thrash.
yeah,
So they weren't like you can understand the words. You can
yeah.
I'm really showing my age here, right? Like we can understand it. It sounds good, right? But yeah, no, I love this. I love this record. I think anybody that's listening to this probably already has heard this record and likes it and just wants to make sure that the things that we're saying about it are correct,
Yeah,
and people knock on Gruesome a lot. They're like, oh, they're not very original. Da da da. It's like, well, yeah, duh.
that's
Like
the
the entire
point.
point.
They're not trying to be.
Right, and, like, nobody that's in this band, like, Gruesome is nobody's main gig, you know what
No,
I mean? So, like, it really gets to really gets to be fun, and they get
yeah,
to set out to accomplish a very specific goal, so,
yeah,
I'm into that
yeah,
for sure.
yep. Dan, you have an album of the week.
Oh, man, that's gonna be tough, so I've been listening to a lot of, well, you know what? I'll just go ahead and say it because I just did that Demon Hunter video, so I really like the new Demon Hunter record, There Was a
All
Light
right.
Here. And I know I need to check out the new Lorna Shore.
Yeah, no, my album of the week is the new Lord of Shore. I feel Forever
Nice.
Black festering within me. It I was worried because a lot of bands have released records that are follow-ups to albums I love this year, and I've been let down by most of them. But Lord of Shore did not disappoint. This record will destroy every speaker you own. And yeah, it's Lorna Shore doing Lorna Shore. And I love it.
Kind of a shorter episode. Sorry about my tooth, guys. Sorry you had to wait such a long time. Other things to be sorry about, I'll come up with for the next episode. But this was fun. I'm glad to be doing it, and we will see you guys again next time.